Is it just me, or does it seem like there's just gifted people everywhere? You open YouTube and you see some 8-year-olds like play La Campanella. You open Instagram and you see some computer science like prodigy 7-year-old that's already got into MIT. You get frustrated, so you put down your phone just to get compared to some random gifted Asian cousin by your mum. And it's the same with studying. When you're struggling to do your work, or like you're struggling with that maths question, do you ever just find yourself thinking,
if only I was smarter, this would be so much easier.
It's easy to think that you're not made for studying and that Asian in your class will just end up beating you anyway. But you don't need to be naturally smart to get good grades. People think I'm naturally gifted and it's because I'm Asian that I can study well. But even as an Asian, there's levels in between Asians. And I can tell you that naturally, I've never been smart. I literally came to this country without knowing how to speak the language. I was like pretty mediocre all the way up into like secondary school. My grades were never that good. And so in this video, I'll cover why being naturally smart might actually be a disadvantage, the thing that beats talent, and the things that you can do to get the good grades, even if you think you're not naturally smart. Let me tell you a story. I remember I was preparing for my 11+ exams, which are the set of exams that you do to go to grammar schools in the UK, or like the better set of like secondary schools. And I remember, although like we never had done tuition, it was like maybe like a month out from the main exams, they start like running like these intensive study camps. And so not too far from my house, it's basically like this kind of like mini mansion. It's like this big house, and there's this person that runs it, and basically they reform the house into like a big like study area. And so there's like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 like basically mostly like Korean kids. And then you go into the house, and then from like 8 until 5 in the afternoon, you just study past paper questions. They bring in like teachers, and then for each of like the subjects, basically maths and English mainly for 11+, you study, and then you're basically in that like group, and it's like a week-long thing. And I just remember this one teacher for maths. We would do like these papers, and then on the whiteboard he'd write down in order your name and what your score was, in order for everyone to see. And I remember I was just never at the top. The thing you have to realize is that natural talent and ability is a head start, but that's all it is. It's just a head start. Talent is the natural ability for you to perform exceptionally in a particular field, whereas hard work is what keeps your personal and student growth alive and thriving. Even if highly talented people have a head start, hard work is more important than talent. In a way, that was a good thing, because although my like head start was 0, that just means I had to put in more work, but that meant I had the practice of putting the work in and doing the hard work. And let me tell you why this is important. If at the gym there's someone with really good genetics, they've never gone to the gym, like they only go to the gym like maybe, I don't know, like a couple of times in their lives. Like we all know that one person, right? They don't really go to the gym, but they just have like a really good physique, and we're all kind of jealous of them. Whereas like you might have been going to the gym, but you just don't have good genetics. So even though you've been going for like a year straight, that guy who's never gone to the gym, you still look the same as that guy. The thing is, although the outcome, you guys both look the same, although you've gone to the year consistently for a year, that head start ends there, whereas you're gonna start to overtake it, right? In 10 years time, because you built up the good work ethic, the discipline, the patience to know that you have to put in the work to improve yourself, even if that like guy who just had natural good genetics and had the good body, because he doesn't have the practice of having to put in the work to like get the good physique, he's gonna end up losing that. And that's why you always see the story of the gifted student, because he never had to put the work into study. When it came to the big exams where actually like he didn't know how to study, like he never had the practice of studying, he ends up failing. That's because having to put in the work and having to build up the work ethic, etc., will set you up for the long run. And that's called the compound effect. People that have natural ability or seem like they're naturally smarter than you will seem like they have an advantage over you, and that's because they do in that moment. They have a head start, but when you consistently put in the work, there'll be a point that you overtake them. I had to continuously work hard my English. I came to this country without knowing how to speak English. I don't know. So although I might have been like the worst in like primary school, I wasn't good, and I always was like below average. My gradient, or like my rate of improvement, was higher because although I started lower, I had that momentum, I had that patience, I had that hard work going for me. And so then by secondary school, I was the best at English. That's why starting off like not naturally smart, having bad genetics actually teaches you more. You have to put in the work, but you learn the process of how to get there. And once you know that process of how to get there, you don't lose that, and you can rinse and repeat that for everything, and you get okay with that transition phase. And this leads on to obsession. I've always been obsessed with anything I get into. Whenever I start a new video game, like I remember like vividly Valorant, I watch hours of tips and tricks videos. Badminton, I'd watch hours of like videos about like how to do each technique. I remember I literally get my racket and I practice like the footwork and like the technique for like a backhand clear in my living room. I ended up like scratching the ceiling of my living room, and like the mark is still there. Whatever I start, I get obsessed with. And the thing is, obsession beats talent. If you're really dedicated to becoming a better student, you obsess over it. That's what wins. Adam Sandler said,
"Obsession is going to beat talent every time." You got all the talent in the world, but are you obsessed?
I thought everyone did this when they started something new. I thought like everyone would like try to like get really good at it. Like whenever badminton, etc. If you start it, I thought like everyone would like try to get good and be obsessed. But actually, that just wasn't the case. If you want to improve, you have to stick to it. Remember, it's the compound effect. You won't see the results for the first week, but getting a straight A like academic comeback doesn't happen overnight. Staying consistent and being obsessed, knowing what you have to do to get better, focusing on the action is difficult, especially when you don't see results. Think about like the very first caveman that discovered like agriculture. Imagine he bought like a pot of soil with a seed in it to his like clan mates, and he was like, guys, okay, from now on, like I know we're running low on water, I know it's drought season, but we're gonna like give half of our water to this plant every single day. Like the clan mates would be call him stupid, like what, like bro, like our grandma's literally like dying of thirst, and you want to use that water on a plant, you want to like throw that water away into like the dirt. That makes no sense. But he's gonna be like, guys, trust me. And so on the first day they're skeptical and they give him water, and he eventually gets the water, dumps it in the soil, and from what it looks like to them, he's just like dumping water into the ground. It's like, what the hell, they're wasting precious water. And he does that for day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, all the way until day 14, and you can't see anything. It feels like he's just been wasting water for 14 days, and they're ready to like just like stab him, right? But on the 14th day, when the sprout comes out and then it starts to blossom into like a fruit, you get more water, more hydration, and more foods. You can start to see like something is growing. Well, suddenly it's like, oh yeah, well yeah, we can water that because we can see like there's a sprout. During those 14 days, that plant was just making roots underground that you couldn't see. It was setting up the foundation for you to thrive and grow. It's easy to do the actions. It's easy to stay consistent once you see the results. But when it comes to studying, you might have to study for a week straight, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, a month, 2 months for you to finally start seeing results. But are you willing to go through that tough transition phase? Stay consistent, be patient through that phase, because that's when you're seeing results. And lastly, resilience. Naturally smart people tend to be unable to handle failure, and we can use that to our advantage if you want to get good grades without being naturally smart. Knowing your weakness is actually really valuable as a student, since it's an opportunity to turn that weakness into a strength. You can't turn a weakness into a strength if you don't know where your weaknesses are. Superman, for example, knows his weakness is kryptonite, so he knows to stay away from it. He knows like that he has like defense mechanisms against it, right? Instead of cowering away from your mistakes, hiding under like your bed because you did bad, write down where you tend to lose marks and lose them. As Josh Waitsky said, success lies on a mountain of mistakes. Each time you act, adjust, and repeat, you're making an incremental improvement. And that's why as a student, I think having a mistakes note, writing down the mistakes you tend to get wrong and practicing those will make it so that you can get good grades even without being naturally smart, because you're just studying in a smart way. And remember, every single student finds it tough. It's not just you. It's easy to think that like everyone else is like finding school easy, it's a breeze, and you're just the one that's like always struggling. But it's not. When you're feeling that pain, everyone else is as well. And think of it as a big filter. You start the race with 100 fish, but then the first hurdle comes up. You feel a stitch in your left side. How many people are going to start continue? Like some fish will like stop swimming, some people will stop like running the race, right? And so 10% of the whole 100 fish get weeded out, and you only have 90% left. As you start going, like you can't start to feel the cramps in your like legs, or 50% of the fish suddenly dropped out. Yeah, every time you face an obstacle, think of it as this net, and once you overcome it, you're just gonna get better and better and better until the best version of you is remaining. It's not just you that's feeling the struggle, it's everyone else. And so remember, hard work beats talent. Beat your competition and become the best student that you can be. If you like this video, make sure to check out Student Accelerator. It's my community and also learning hub for like-minded, ambitious students. You can surround yourself with experts. We give you tailored help, as well as you can look at all the different courses we have so that you can become the best student you can be. As always, take action in what you learned today, and I'll see you in the next one.
Raw.